Hey, good evening, everybody. Ladies, I'm so blessed and excited to be on this call with you tonight. I'm actually jumping out of my skin. I mean, the Savvy system has me full of energy, but tonight, I feel so blessed and excited to be sharing this call with one of my BFFs, Alexandra Maharis, who just went away. I don't know where she went. She and I actually were on a call the other day saying that we wanted to make our next women's empowerment call super special. We both said, let's invite Sarah Zolecki, and in 2 minutes we made that happen. And I cannot wait for you to be inspired by her tonight. Her story is just going to blow you away. And my hope is that you're inspired beyond belief to have some breakthroughs. What I want to ask is that everybody make sure that you have a pen and paper. I love the way that Bob Goshen says that the real learning happens when you transfer it from what you hear in your head to putting it pen to paper. So for those of you who don't know me, because I know that we've got some guests on this call tonight, my name is Joan Hochster. I am a social marketer with Modere. I did open this call up to other companies, other businesses, just because we're all about empowering women. One of the things that Alexandra and I talk about often is that we are using this as our platform to empower young girls and women and make a difference in their lives and make a difference in the world. It's Mahatma Gandhi that says it's Western women who are going to change the world. So whoever's on this call tonight, there's no coincidence that we're all here together. I ask God every day to put the right people in my path and the right opportunities in my path, and for me to have the discernment to make the right choices. And I have the goosebumps because I will tell you that I've never felt more sure about anything I have ever done in my life besides the rearing of my children. I'm going to quickly give you my story. I have two children. My son Joshua is 22. My daughter Danielle is 16. They are my everything. They're my reason that I work feverishly to make things happen. And when I got pregnant with my daughter, I gave up my career in corporate America. I worked for AT&T. I was a corporate trainer. I spent a lot of years there, had a lot of success, but I decided that when my son started kindergarten and my daughter was born, that I did not want other people raising my children. And I was in a position where I was fortunate enough that I had the opportunity to do that. I know that that's not something that everybody has the opportunity to do, so I do feel so blessed and grateful. But when you leave corporate America and you become a stay-at-home mom, although I have helped my husband in our security business for the last 20 years, you lose, there's like something liberating that you lose. And so I loved being room mom and PTA president and soccer mom and baseball mom, but I really felt like there was a part of me that was missing something. And although I loved helping my husband in our security business, which is what kept a roof over our head and food on our table, it wasn't something that I had passion about. And, you know, when passion and your career come together, there's nothing more beautiful. So, you know, as I said, I ask God every day for the right opportunities and the right people to be put in front of me. Mike and Sai Hernandez, who are two of my dearest friends, came to me with an opportunity that just made sense to me. It was all about teaching people to live a healthier, more toxic-free life. It resonated, and I just decided to jump on board with them and work very closely with them. And I have not looked back since. The ride has been a little tumultuous. I'm not a quitter. I don't ever give up. And we landed here in Modere. And I'm just telling you right now, for me, I know it is definitely the right place at the right time with the right people. Alexandra has become, like I call her now, my BFF, one of my best friends. I'm excited to be on this journey with her, and so excited for the lives that we're going to change with what we have our hands on. And she's going to be introducing Sarah to you, but I just want you to know that the connection I feel with Sarah is so deeply rooted, because I was just sharing with her the night that I met her was at our first conference, the first Modere conference I'd ever been to, and they have a women's empowerment segment in the of the meeting. And to me, that really just lit me on fire. The fact that this company honors and recognizes women the way they do just really, it really resonated with me. And then during that meeting, she handed out these pink quartz heart stones. And that's something that my daughter and I have done for years. I used to call it a mommy rock. You had another term for it, but I call it a mommy rock. So when my daughter would be away from me and she would feel like she was missing me or anxious, she'd have it in her pocket. And Sarah shared something very similar. So I feel a kinship with her. And like I said, get your pen and paper ready, because I do believe that you're going to be wanting to take notes and you're going to be so inspired tonight. So ladies, I love you and I'm so excited to be here with you.
Oh,
thank you so much, Joan. I mean, there are very few people that come into my life that I feel a very close connection with. I feel like my really, really close friends are all my childhood friends and the people that I grew up with. But, you know, Joan stepped into my story a few years ago, and we have been fast friends. We are as thieves, and we do it all together. And, you know, we really have such an amazing team of people. Obviously, you're going to hear from Sarah, but just to talk for 1 second about the roots of this team and the women that are on here, the connection that we have with one another is our connection to Mike and Saeed. And, you know, they've been such servant leaders that it makes it easy for people to be able to step up and step out and do what they need to do to really grab their dreams off of the shelf and dust them off and say, what do I want from my life? And just seeing two people who couldn't be more real. I mean, I've been in this industry with them for going up on 9 years, 8.5 years, and I have seen a lot of people, and I'll tell you, you know, Mike's face says it all. Usually you can tell right through his face. He doesn't have to say anything. So, but, you know, Mike and Saeed are just authentic and genuine and disruptive and, you know, humble, all of the things that I want to be aligned with and all of the things that I want to have in my business. And my favorite line from Mike is to be the person that you want to find in your downline. And so that's one of the things that they taught me. And they also have this great relationship with Joan. So it was easier for me to just feel safe and comfortable to have such a wonderful relationship with her. I do want to just share a quick 1.5 minutes about my own story. I know some of the people on here are guests, and our women's leadership call that gets together, you've already heard my story. But my story is a little different than most people. I was doing what I wanted to do when network marketing came to be in my life, and I was really in a happy place. I was running my own boutique of children's high-end clothing and a women's boutique. I had wanted it for a long time. I had been a commercial realtor flipping houses for many years before that, and I was really doing what I wanted to do, and I had been able to raise my son until he went to school. Financially, I didn't need to work. And, you know, so my story isn't like everybody's story, but I then became very unhappy because I had all of these things. I was living where I wanted to live and driving the cars that I wanted, and I was running my business, and my husband had his own business and works for a large building firm in Manhattan. But I was all alone, and I didn't want to be alone. I've been with my husband 15 years, and he would leave, and I would be, you know, doing everything by myself. I would pick up my son from school alone. I would eat dinner alone. I would put my son to bed alone, and I was just alone. And I am a people person, and I was like, does not sound like a fun plan to keep doing. So, you know, a friend of mine brought up, you know, a plan B. And I just thought, well, this plan is the plan that I really want. You know, I want to have a plan B to be able to grow and stretch, you know, like Jim Rohn's famous quote, you know, your mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. And so fast forward to one of my favorite lines that I've ever heard from a stage, and I didn't get it. And that's why it's one of my favorite lines. When I first got into this business, Mike and Saeed were talking, and they said, you know, it's not so much the money that you make and all this stuff, but the person that you become. And I was like, they're saying that because they're millionaires. And, you know, it's easy to say, but it really is, you know, the person that you become, because you get bulletproof, because your friends and family turn you down, and you have to decide, do I want this? Do I want this more than I'm going to let somebody beat my dreams, you know, out of my own hands? And Mike used to say, you know, I lost my own friends and family, but God brought these amazing people in my life that I never knew, you know. And I remember he spoke about our relationship and said, you know, he brought this person in my life that's like our sister, like a part of our family, and our own family didn't even support us. And the person that we became 5 years later, you know, even though we were millionaires, that was the priceless part. And so a few years later, Anthony, his mind had opened, and I said, I'm gonna have a baby. I got pregnant after 9.5 years of trying, and I said, this is it. I can't do this like this. So either you're gonna learn, you know, take the step and tell your company that you can't do this schedule anymore, or I don't know what we're gonna do. And the day that my daughter was born, because his mind was right, he said, you know, we were making more money and all that stuff, but he said, I can't do this. And never, not once for 5 years has he ever had that schedule again. And it freed him. And so that's a really touching story for me, and it motivates me to keep on going. And that's why, you know, I take the time, 15 minutes, 20 minutes every morning. I have my private quiet time, and I get myself bulletproof so that the noise of the world doesn't drown out my dreams. And I'm so excited tonight to have Sarah Zolecki, someone who's been in the industry for 20 years. Her and her husband, Tony, are E3s in this company. They have an amazing spirit, and you'll know that when you hear from her. But, you know, meeting them in person, they're just so warm and inviting. She's been through every phase and stage in the business, you know, from a beginner to all the way at the top and everything in between. So, you know, get your papers and pens ready. Sarah, we're so grateful to have you tonight.
Oh my gosh, we could end the webinar on that, girl. Come on. You motivated me. That's pretty inspiring. And hi, everybody. This is kind of actually the first for me. It's so funny. If you can believe this, in 20 years, I've never done an actual like webcam on a GoToMeeting ever. So, so this is like my breakout. So it's like we talk about things that we're scared to do. Well, let me tell you, this is like kind of scary for me.
Well, you look wonderful.
Oh, you're so nice. So I'm used to telling my story either live and on stage or on the phone. So this is definitely different for me, but I love that. Thank you for pushing me tonight, girls, to do this. So, well, I'm so honored to be here, and obviously you know, I mean, to get a chance to be partner with Joan and Alexandra, I mean, it's just so fun to just, I don't know, just be totally in the presence of people that just, they get you. And I feel like I get them. And it's just so nice where you're in an environment that you can really authentically be yourself, and the good, the bad, the ugly. And I was telling the girls literally 10 minutes, you know, Joan gave me such a nice compliment and said, oh my gosh, you look so nice. And I'm like, girl, if you would have saw me 10 minutes ago, I was wearing a sweatshirt, and I told my husband, hey, throw me a tube of lipstick, you know what I mean? And here I am. And maybe I should have done that. So you guys could have seen kind of a little bit more of how my life is every day. But I might get a chance to spend just a little bit of time with you. And then they had asked if I could do a Q&A. So I would love to do that. I'm more than happy to you know, do that more. I feel like it's a little bit more of an intimate level, which I love that part about the business. So, oh gosh, where do I start? Well, first of all, I'll share with you, I am married to an incredible gentleman. His name is Tony Zolecki, and we're so fortunate we get to work the business side by side together. We reside in Minneapolis, Minnesota. For those of you that don't know, it's by Canada. People always ask, they're like, where is that? It's way up north, and it's very cold. But we have warm hearts up here, and you know, I love our business because we can work inside, so I don't have to worry about the cold weather. And we have two wonderful kids. You probably can see a little bit of them. Those are my two kids. Hudson is 3 and Ava is 1. And like all of us probably on this webinar, I live a full life. I am spinning many plates as a mom and building a business and trying to do my best to be a great spouse and all the in-between stuff. But it wasn't always like that. And it's so my story is, it's really an interesting story because every time I tell it, it just really shows me and proves to me that man, women, we're pretty tough. And we can get through a lot. And it's amazing what the inner strength that God gives us to really push through on stuff. And quite frankly, all the different times that we tend to kind of black things out after it happened, kind of like having kids and then realizing you want to have another one. You're like, do you remember what that was like? And you seem to black it all out. Like, I don't know how, like, I think if you didn't do that, we wouldn't have, none of us would have more than one kid.
That's okay.
So my story is I'm 42 years old. I got introduced to network marketing when I was 21. I tell people I really had no business being in business. I had no idea what network marketing was. I had no clue. I'd never heard about MLM at all. I was working as a nanny at the time, going to school really part-time. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I love teaching. I love business. But again, like I was just kind of starting out as far as going to college. And gentleman actually that I was dating at the time introduced me to network marketing. And when he first showed me the business, we had been dating for a while and I was never on his list. I don't know if some of you guys might have been on a little bit of a training that I had talked about the other day, but I was on a list. I was on a list finally. What?
That's why you didn't make the cut in your life. That's why.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So, so he was involved in the company for 4 months. Never even asked me. Never even said, "Hey, you should take a look at this." And finally, his sponsor said, "Hey, you know what? You should maybe talk to your girlfriend about this business. Like, maybe she'd want to do it." So, long story short, I fell in love with what I saw. But it did take me a little bit of time. I tell people that I wasn't the easiest person to get involved in the business. I was kind of the yes girl where I said, "Hey, I'll be there." And literally 3 different times I didn't show. I just no-showed. I think one time I canceled and the 2 other times I just didn't show up. And then the 4th time, finally, I showed up. And I loved it. I walked in a room and there's a room full of probably about 100 people. And they were happy. Like I literally was looking around for like the bar. I thought it was happy hour. I was like, why is everyone so happy? Like, this is so crazy. Like, what is this? And I fell in love with the feeling. I said, man, I want to be around these people. Like they're going somewhere. They had big visions. And I had never been surrounded by that ever. And I was definitely naive. I remember the girl in front of the room, she was a guest that had flown in from Hawaii, and her background is she used to be a teacher, so I fell in love with that. She was like a kindergarten teacher, and she told her story, and you know what? I fell in love with her shoes. I remember she had silver shoes, and I was like, I'm in, I want those. It's so dumb. Now that I think about it, people are like, so what got you in the business? I'm like, oh my God,
I wanted silver shoes.
It's like, I mean, it's, I don't even know. Like, there's no words. So, I got fired up. I was like, man, I want to be that girl, you know?
And you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. So you were the right person.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. People always ask me, they're like, so how are you invited? I'm like, listen, no clue. I mean, I have no idea what that person said to get me to come. Like, I mean, I don't even know. So it's just kind of a good point that it's just like, you know, a lot of, you know, it's just really talking to people and being enthusiastic and excited about, you know, what we have to offer. And it's just, it's not always going to be the perfect invite for everybody, but here's the thing. I was ready. I mean, I was just ready. I think the 3 or 4 times that I didn't show, I wasn't ready. You know, I just wasn't ready for one reason or another. So I was kind of like those, I don't know. I just kind of, I saw the business. I got started right away, made a decision that night. It was wild. That company, the buy-in was $5,000 to get started when I was 21, and I did it. And they said there was a training in Dallas, Texas the next week. And I bought my ticket for that, plane ticket. The training was $800 for registration. So literally within a week, I had spent like $7,000 on my business at 21 years old. And I remember talking to my sponsor about the training, and he said, oh, I'm not going to training, but you should go. So I actually went by myself at 21. I had no idea what this business was. I got on a plane, flew to Dallas, Texas. I was in a room full of, oh my gosh, 4,000 people. I didn't know one person. And I sat up there. I remember, I'll never forget that. Like, they had all this different seating. I sat in the balcony, and I sat there and took tons of notes. I had no idea what I was taking notes on. Like, I was so new. I had no idea what they were saying, but I knew that one day it would mean something. So I thought, man, maybe I should have this. And I'm still the same to this day. That's a good golden nugget. Even if you don't understand what's happening, take notes, because you'll go back 6 months later and exactly what you read is exactly where you're at now in your business, and you can use it. I mean, that happens to me all the time still. But I just remember sitting up in that balcony, and I just started crying. Like, it was so weird. Like, I was like looking around like, oh my gosh, I hope people are not seeing. But I started crying because I was so happy, because I knew that my life was never, ever going to be the same again, like, ever. And little did I know, it really wasn't, for like good, bad, and ugly, literally over the next 20 years. And that was literally like kind of my start to getting involved in network marketing. And I was with that company for 5 years, and traveled around the US. And I didn't, I made money, but I only broke even. Like, I never got in profit for 5 years. For 5 years, and I worked that business full time for 5 years. I literally didn't make a profit. And I'll never forget, it was, fall of, like, I don't even know what year, but at 5 years going in, I was working in Louisville, Kentucky, of all places, building a business. And we had a monthly conference call with that company. And we all got on the conference call, and the CEO of the company got on and said, hey, as of right now, XYZ company is no longer in business. Like, we're done. And that business model had basically kind of what we call training centers and offices all over the U.S. And I had offices in Lexington, Louisville, and Cincinnati. And I was holding $26,000 a month in leases at the age of 24. And the company was like, done. And it was shocking. So here I was, kind of like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? And moved back to Minneapolis here, where I'm from. And I just said, you know what? Like, I don't know if this network marketing gig is like, I mean, that's a lot to go through. And I was like, I don't know, like, if this is like for me, like, anymore. I'm kind of like, at that point I was a little jaded. And so I went into corporate recruiting, because I went, you know what? I learned the skill set of inviting and recruiting, right? Which we all learn, and prospecting. And I'm like, I'm going to take it into the corporate world. And so that's what I did. I did corporate recruiting for a number of years, and I loved it. But I'll tell you, still in the back of my mind, I was like, how could I have gone through 5 years of learning this business, and now I'm sitting in a cubicle, paid, working 70 hours a week, paid for 40. I was living the Office Space movie day in and day out. I was doing exactly what I was teaching people, how to get out of the rat race, and here I was in it. And I'm like, all right, God, like, there's no way I can learn all those skills. I'm like, here I am. But I wasn't really interested in like anything that was out there, quite frankly. And in 2005, I got reintroduced. That's when I got reintroduced to network marketing, and I was really skittish. I mean, I was just scared. I was just scared that, like, man, is this going to happen again? I mean, that was my whole thing. And it wasn't that I didn't believe in the industry. Like, I just didn't know if I believed in myself anymore. I was like, man, Sarah, like, you think you can really pull this thing off? Like, really, like, come on, And so I got back involved, but the only reason I did is because I got involved with someone that I trusted and I liked. I hadn't even tried the product. I knew nothing about the comp plan, but I trusted them, and that's why I got back in. And was really fortunate in that company. I met my husband, Tony, and it was a whirlwind romance. We dated 3 months, decided to get married, and we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary, but we just knew. And he was in my team. He always cracks the joke that he married his upline, which he did. And he always jokes that he married, he married up, which he did.
Nice. Well, that's one way to get to diamond. Just marry it.
Yeah, exactly. He's no dummy. He's no dummy. So we built that business for 8 years, and we traveled the globe. We had tremendous success. We were super honored. We had amazing people on our team. But at the end of the day, after 8 years, we kind of got to the position where we felt that whether I was in a living room of 5 people or I was doing an event in Malaysia for 5,000, I didn't feel that every person that we talked to about the business had a shot of success, however they defined it, whether it was 50 bucks a month, 50 grand a month, it didn't matter. The model really inside of network marketing was broken in a lot of different ways, not just with the company we're with, but with so many. And we just looked at, price point of products were so high that if people didn't stay, like if they didn't have success in the business, they weren't staying on auto ship, they weren't using the products anymore, which our business just slowly but surely just started, eroding from the bottom up. And two, we were noticing that, even though we were winning, our team wasn't winning anymore. And that's just a really miserable place to be. And emotionally, we were just out. Like, how women are. It's kind of like, it's pretty easy. When we're out, and I was out, and I was still going through the motions though, which is a really awful place to be. You're in limbo. I hadn't been personal recruiting for a year at all. We were still supporting, training, working inside of our team because that's just how we are. Our team had no idea where we were emotionally. But we were kind of stuck. I mean, we didn't want to look at any other companies. We didn't want to be pitched. We looked at everything else that we kind of had seen on the surface was kind of like it was just the same thing, no matter what product or service or whatever, like you would peel back the onion in every company and it was just the same deal. Like it literally was the same deal. And so we were just kind of, we were at the point where we had conversation that we said, you know what, should we just maybe step out? Like, should we maybe just step out? I had a women's platform that I just said, well, I'll just enhance that and work with that. And Tony had some other avenues that he wanted to go down. And gosh, it's so crazy. But thank God for Facebook. I mean, I think so many people say, fake book, but for me, it completely saved us. I mean, it totally saved us because there's a gentleman by the name of Justin Prince that's the co-founder of Modere that he and I were friends. And it's just, I really believe that there's so many events that happen in your life that get you to where you're supposed to be. And for myself, I mean, 3.5 years, 4 years prior to this, as of today, Justin and I got introduced and we had a conversation on Facebook and said, hey, we should talk. Justin was like, we should be real friends instead of just Facebook friends. And I'm like, yeah, we should. And at that time I got pregnant and I had a really rough pregnancy. Prior to that, I had 4 miscarriages. It was just a really rough ride. 8 years we tried to get pregnant, and it's just battling, and finally did. And so I kind of went off Facebook and just was surviving through my pregnancy. Really, I hate to say it. I wish I really enjoyed it. I was so grateful to be pregnant, but it was rough. And so literally when my son was a year, so fast forward 2 years later, I started going through my Facebook messages, if you can believe that, and I found Justin's message. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never messaged that guy back. We teach follow-up, right, to do it in 24 hours, and I was doing follow-up in 24 months, right? I was not doing what I would teach at all. It was horrible. And so don't do that. And so I messaged him back. And it's so wild because at that point, things were so different in my life. Things were so different in his life, personally and business-wise. It's so wild now that I think about it. And so we had a conversation, and it was just really nice. I didn't tell him where we were with that company. We didn't know what we were going to do. We just were doing nothing. So I was like, I'm not even going to bring it up. And he didn't even bring up Modere because there wasn't a name. It was really kind of just a figment of their imagination. It was an idea. There was nothing concrete at all, nothing. And so I got the phone and I was like, you know what, that was a really nice conversation with that guy, you know, and I left it at that. And I tried to go to bed that night, and it was crazy. It was like women's intuition times 100. And it was like, you need to call that guy back, and you need to, I don't know, maybe you need to tell him like you're looking. And my pride got in the way. And I was like, you know what? I'm not calling this guy back. Like, what's he going to do? Give me a referral? Like, I know enough people in the profession that I can look at companies, whatever. And my pride, it just like was crushing me. And finally I just like went uncle, because it was so heavy. And so I tried to think of something really clever and smart and cool to call him about and say, you know, why I'm calling. It was awful, because I was like, how am I going to tell this guy? So I called him up, and I was like, hey, Justin, I said, you know what? I don't really know why I'm calling you. I'm trying to think of something really cool to say, and I have no clue, dude. Like, I don't even know. But I just feel so compelled to call you. And I don't know. I guess I just feel like I need to tell you that we're kind of looking. Like, I don't even know what we're looking for. Like, I don't even know that we're officially looking. Like, but I guess we are, because I'm saying this. And it got, like, you could hear a pin drop. I mean, it was so quiet. And he's like, well, if I can, like, find, like, some written NDA, like, I'll tell you about a project I'm working on. And that literally is how we fell into Modere. And because it was so organic, like, I get goosebumps right now thinking about it.
I have them. You
do it? Yeah. It's so amazing, you guys. Because I was never pitched. It was totally organic. It was totally clear. And like, it was so like authentic and natural that I had to sit up and pay attention. Like, we knew from the beginning it was never coincidence. We're like, this is so crazy how all this is happening. And we just started having conversations. And we talked about everything we love about network marketing, and what are the things that we don't really love necessarily, things that have hurt people in the profession, and you know, how could we maybe make it better, or maybe how could we just like completely like change it altogether. And after about 2-3 weeks of conversations like that, we made a decision, and we came on board with Modere. And I remember telling Justin, hey, you know, we're in, and by the way, like, so what are we doing? You know, because like it was so new, like there was no name yet.
Sarah, can I interject for 1 second? Because you're at a point in Alexandria, you're probably thinking the exact same thing as me.
I'm sure we are.
So first of all, I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm taking notes feverishly, and so many of the things that you've said have resonated with me from the point of being scared, and so many on this call are experiencing that same feeling and not being sure about staying in the industry, and not because of the industry, but lack of belief in ourselves. I mean, I know I'm speaking for myself, where I have been really struggling with that. And I in this past week have really drawn a line in the sand. It's the Savvy system and Greg Horn that really helped me to turn a corner. And I'm going to share a video I posted on our team page with you when we're done with this. So you'll know like, I'm freaking serious. But I really want you to explain what you were just talking about, how, you know, there were things about the industry that you didn't love, and you talked about those things, and what you could do to make it different. I want the people on this call to clearly understand that this is not 1980s MLM, like not network, because the industry has such a stigma, and there's so many limiting beliefs, and so many people in our world have limiting beliefs. Like, I want you to arm these ladies with what they can say when somebody says, oh, one of those things, because I know it's not one of those things, and I feel that oozing out of you right now. So
before you answer, Sarah, just to piggyback, because you can answer both the questions together. Okay. What were some of those first days like for you? Obviously, you're going to have to talk about your own limiting beliefs, but, you know, a lot of the people, I can see all of the names of who's on here. A lot of the people have walked away from, you know, I'm just thinking of, I got chills, but I thought, my gosh, my thing about always walking into a new company is like, how am I going to tell my team? You know, these people, they believe in me, and how are they going to now believe in me in this next phase and come with me? Or just those private, quiet moments between you and Tony where you said, honey, we're doing this, and this is how we're doing this. And then getting through your own limiting beliefs.
So first of all,
We're like,
lady, there are some people with their hands up, and I want people to know that we're not ignoring you. That at the end we're going to open up for Q&A.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
Yeah.
I'm listening intently, so I'm not paying attention to hands right now. So Sarah, take it away, lady.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So,
we're breaking you in, baby.
I know. So, okay. So, so our situation is even a little bit more unique. So the company that we were with, we actually had a non-compete for 2 years, and we had a team of tens and tens of thousands of people. So when we built Modere, we built it from scratch. Guess what we did? We put a list together, and everything that we built here, we didn't bring a team. Like, it's totally fresh, new. And I'm not saying that to scare people. It was good for me in a sense, because it made me sharpen my skills, man. It made me, you know what I mean? It made me go work on friendships. It made me become a better communicator. It made me have to get out there and hustle in the midst of being a mom, right? I mean, I'm not talking like I could do this, you know, my kids were whatever. Like I was a mom, you know, new mom. Granted, in the midst of this. So that transition for us was a little bit different, because we didn't transition with a team at all. I mean, at all. And you know what? We weren't scared about it at all, though, because as crazy as it sounds, we had so much peace about being here, that just because of how we got here, that we just knew that it would work out. And the reality is too, just like you, Joan, every day I pray that the right people are brought into my life, and my eyes are open to that. And guess what? They show up, and they're showing up big right now. I mean, look at you guys walked into my life. You know what I mean? Like I don't take that for granted. I don't think, oh, these are just some really cool women. I'm like, dang, like, this is amazing what's happening. So for me, I just have a lot of peace that just everything works out exactly how it's supposed to work out. But also too, I've worked really hard on me becoming better, and becoming like, the days of me, you know, trying to search out to find these amazing leaders and rock stars, like, I don't do that. Like, I work hard on me being a rock star in my own right. And that's attractive to people. And that's what's happening, is that people are being, and again, the longer that you're in the business, the better you're going to get. Like, you know, am I attracting way high quality, like more quality people now than I was a year ago? Yeah. 10 years ago, for sure. 20 years ago, for sure. But it was me just getting better. And I'd love to say that process happens in a month or a year, but you know, it just takes, well, some of us have more baggage than others. Some of us don't. You know what? I had more baggage than I thought I didn't, but I did. You know, I had these insecurities and these, you know, just different things of perfection and wanting to be, you know, the best at everything without having to go through the crappy part, which is impossible. You know, I've learned to now, you know, fall in love with that. I used to be really scared of the unknown. Now I totally love that. The things that are unknown in my life get me really excited instead of scared. But I've had to work hard on my mindset with it. Like, I've had to trick my brain that the unknown is not a scary thing. Like, when it's the unknown, like that's exciting. And I also know too, like, when it's the unknown, I know there's something freaking amazing that's about to happen. And so I'm not scared about that, you know? And I think I've shared on a couple of calls before, there's a really cool, I think I actually shared in our Empower in that meeting, that there's a really cool book that I read that's called Conquer Fear. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that book, by Lisa Jimenez. It's an amazing book. And in the book, she talks about how, you know, when you feel fear, that's like your green light to go. Like, that's your trigger.
That's right. I'm reading a book. I'm reading a book right now, or I'm listening to a book, the 10X rule. And that's one of the things that I have written down in front of me, is that when you're afraid of something, you do it and you do it and you do it until you crush the fear.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. That's a masculine way of saying it, right? Because that's a guy that wrote the book, right? So for her, she talks about how it's like your green light to go. So it's like, so for me, again, my mindset is when it's something that I'm fearful of, I get so excited because I'm like, oh my God, I'm so scared. This is amazing because I know what's getting ready to happen. And so, you know, that for me that's my trigger. It's automatic now. Where before, you know, as a woman, for me personally, that fear, I mean, it just like puts cement blocks on your feet, you know, and it would take me, you know, I don't know, I couldn't break out of that half the time. It was impossible. I totally was just frozen in that. And it had so many, you know, so many stuff that, I don't know. I love being a woman, but man, we make up so much crazy crap. It's not even funny. It's like there's one thing that happens and all of a sudden we ruminate down a rabbit hole in like 30 seconds and we make it monstrous. And it's like the smallest little thing. And I worked really hard on not doing that. Like, I'm like, I'm not going down that rabbit hole that it's like, it's such a big deal, or we look way into it when it doesn't need to be, or we read it too deep that it's like not even anything, you know? And so I worked hard on that.
Right? It almost paralyzes you when you look so deep into something that you're like just stuck in that moment. I know that I've experienced that.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Something that I really enjoyed hearing you talk about at our women's get together, that elite women's get together in September, was how you found your own voice separate from Tony, even though you're building together, and how you always thought like, oh, I have to be like this, or I have to be like this, or I have to come across perfect. And that, you know, when you let go of that people really decided to love Sarah for who Sarah was. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of people on this call that have had those kind of questions, like, can I do this all by myself? Can I stand alone? You know, it's great to have your spouse on stage with you, but can I stand alone and build this? We're building a lifestyle brand, right? And build this dream life for myself and my family. And can I find my own voice? And will people love the authentic me when they see it, you know? So I think that, you know, that was something that resonated with me, that you found your own voice and that you just, you owned it. And, you know, people decided to love the real Sarah. So I really, really love that.
Can I piggyback on that? It's interesting. I wish I could read this right now. It's, I can't get to it, but I read it today. Someone had, one of my friends had posted on Facebook, and it was so exactly how I was. I wish I was able to share that, come across exactly what he had read, because it's exactly what you talked about with me, where, you know, for myself for so long, I think so many people try to emanate who someone is in this business from the outside. How they look, how they talk, all that. And the reality is you need to be emanating how they are on the inside. You know what I mean? How they think, all that. And I was like, dang. And that is really what I did. And then that is what allowed me to become my authentic self, right? Because I took those skills that way. And I wasn't so worried about trying to be that other person from the outside. It was so powerful when I read that. I go, that is exactly what I was doing for so long. It was, I got to find, I'll send it to you guys. It's so powerful. I was like, oh my gosh, like I wish I could have articulated it like they did, because that was exactly where I was at.
I do want to open it up for questions. I'm going to unmute a couple of the girls. And when I unmute you, you have to unmute yourself. So it'll be right on your right-hand side. And before the time gets away, I want to say one thing. Obviously, you know, we love Sarah and having her on, but, you know, I am so proud of each person who hopped on this call tonight, because, you know, you are laughing everybody who wished that they were on the call but didn't actually log in. And people, they don't realize that the small steps, that doing the activity, that being consistent, those are all things that winners have. And so I'm grateful to be just with a group of winners tonight.
Amen.
I'm going to unmute my girl, Penny Spinelli. Hold on, Penny. Unmute yourself, doll.
Penny, hit the microphone.
She just muted herself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There we go. Yes.
I didn't have my hand raised. I wasn't prepared for this. I'm multitasking as usual.
That's what we do.
Can't get enough knowledge. I wasn't prepared for this. I'm writing down, emailing. I'm going to Florida tomorrow.
Oh, awesome.
I'm starting to work with the Florida team a little bit. But Sarah, I had the privilege of Saeed introducing me, and I got a picture with you. But I was at the leadership luncheon, and it was very impressive.
Oh, thank you. We're so glad you were there.
Yes, it was. We had such a great time there. It was really, that was probably one of the best so far.
Oh, good. Well, Atlanta's going to be amazing. Watch out.
Yeah, we already have 7 tickets to go.
Awesome. That's great.
Yes.
That's
I
great.
plan on working with the boys a little bit in Florida. Every time I go down to visit, we try to get them going because it's a young group. But yeah, I wasn't prepared for this. The girls know. I just sort of get like freeze up in front of people. But I did learn each time I've gone. When we had the women there with the leadership team, we all get that, I'm going to say the brain freeze, or you think you know what you're going to say and you don't remember what you're going to say, and you want to say things that just doesn't come out. So I think that's what makes people feel better, that they have the same
Struggles.
it struggles, because some people just have that natural to talk, to answer questions, where they might have more of that, where I might have more of other ways to help them. I always say I don't shout out a lot of things or chat a lot. Doesn't mean that I'm not talking. Sometimes when you're talking, you're not listening. If you're not listening, you're not learning. So I do my own little absorbing of knowledge a different way. But, once you get to know me, I think, I said I have you have more ease of talking, you get to know people better. But I'm always writing notes, always willing to learn, always trying to jump on webinars, because, repetition, even like with baseball, the more you do, the more you learn. So it's just not in,
so true.
Yes, you just can't say enough. But I wasn't sure what else to say.
Penny, Penny, I think you accidentally had your hand up, girl, and that's okay. You're a rock star.
You know what we had trouble with? We had trouble with Wi-Fi today.
You're a rock star.
Leaving on a flight early tomorrow. I'm saying, oh no, the webinar's tonight. So again, I'm trying to cross my T's, dot my I's before I go, and I'm taking less clothes. I travel with one bag, but I always make sure I have my business stuff with me.
You're such a true lady. Penny, love you.
Raven, I'm going to unmute you, Raven. Why don't you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Good. I'm glad you did that, because she was wanting us to ask it. I love it. Raven, this is your time, girl, because you're going to make this stuff happen right now.
Go ahead, Raven.
Come on, girl.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Okay. Hi, Sarah. This is Raven from Date.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to hear that you're on the call. You guys are just awesome. And I asked the question, can you give some feedback of just starting out and the struggles you went through? So it's been about, I just got in the industry. So I just want to hear what you went through, and I just like hearing stories about since you're at the top now. So I want to, and I got a great team, and I want to just hear what you had to say about that.
Some of your fears starting out building.
Yeah. So tell me, give me what are some things that you're maybe going through?
I think what it is pretty much, you get those times where you're like, I believe in myself, I got this, it's easy to talk about, and then before you do it, you're like, oh shoot. So it's just, I think, lack of belief, and then, just psyching yourself out, really.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I wish I could say that I don't do that anymore, but you do. You just learn how to catch it a lot quicker. And learn how to work through. I mean, what would freeze me up for a while now freezes me up for like 2 seconds.
So, and I think, Sarah, you said it, it's just to keep doing it. Like, even when you're afraid, you just keep doing it. And then at some point, that fear, like you said, it diminishes, and yeah, it might not ever go away, but it becomes small enough that it's just more of an annoyance than a fear.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, think about how many times we do something, and then after we do it, like for the first time, and then afterwards, we're like, oh my God, like that wasn't, like, I can't even believe I made that such a big deal. It was like nothing. Like, I think about the first time we did a 3-way call. I was so paranoid. I mean, I think about that now. I'm like, it's so funny. And I don't know why. And I didn't do a 3-way call for a long time because I think I was just scared. I don't even know. And then after I did one, I was like, I cannot believe I haven't been doing these. Like, what a knucklehead. Like, I cannot believe it. And then I was like, this is not, it wasn't a big deal. And I just like made it a big deal. I remember the first time I had a home party, I was a total wreck. And then afterwards, I'm like, I can't believe I haven't been doing these things, you know? So I think, too, we just think things are just way harder than they are, I mean, in general. And then once we do it, we're like, oh, my gosh, you know? But, oh, man, I mean, there's so many stories of, I remember, like, I mean, it's funny now. I mean, I love speaking now, but, I mean, there's so many times I was so scared. I remember we had a big event that we were doing, and the gentleman that was speaking, you know, he's like, hey, Sarah, you're up. And I'm like, up for what? Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you're up. You're gonna welcome everybody, and then you're gonna turn over to me. And I'm like, hell no. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. He's like, I'm like, I'm not. And he was adamant. He was like, you're up. And I'll never forget, you guys. Oh my God, I wish I had this on video. Oh my God, it was crazy. So I'll never forget. I go up the right side of the, like, so I go in the room. I walk along the far right side of the wall, right? Because I'm like hugging the wall because I'm so scared. I'm hugging it, like literally walking all the way up. I walk all the way across to the front, right? And I pause and I look at everyone for I don't even know,
a moment,
3 seconds. I turn. I keep on walking across the front. I walk all the way across the back left of the wall, all the way along the wall, and I walk right out.
No, you did not.
Right out.
Oh, yeah. That's hilarious.
And they were like, and I left. Like, I was done. Yeah, because I didn't know what else to do. I just kept going. I just was like, I just got to keep walking. Like, I didn't know.
That is the funniest story ever.
Yeah, and it was so scared. I was so scared. And, like, they didn't ask me to do that. I didn't get asked to talk for a long time. After that. There was a while. They're like, don't ask her. It's not good, you know? Or times that I have to get in front of the room and I had to edify the speaker, and I got up there and I didn't know what to say, and I just said, he's the bomb. And then I introduced him. I mean, it was the worst.
But you did it, and now she's an E3 in the top of the company. So there you go. You just do it.
I'm gonna use that next time. I'm gonna be like, he's the bomb. Hit it.
Yeah, and that was it. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, so I just think it's just doing it anyway, you know. But I guess that little minute up there helped me kind of get over that, you know what I mean, and start helping little by little by little. So, you know, Joan, like you said, it's just doing it over and over again. And you know, I think, you know, you guys have, you know, Raven, obviously, you know, you're connected with such great leaders. You just have to lean on their belief until you get your own. I mean, I leaned on my sponsor, my mentor's belief for a long time. And, you know, one of the things that I always told myself, like everything I was going through, is I would say, hey, how would so-and-so, what would he do in this situation? What would she do in this situation? How would she act? What would she say, right? When I would be in situations, I'm like, well, I don't know what to say, or how would I act? And so I really kind of took on that persona, so to speak, until I, you know, had my own belief. And that really helped me kind of mentally visualize, you know, what to do in the beginning. And that helped me a lot, actually. I did that for a long time. Until I just kind of came into my own. And, you know, it's not going to take you guys 5 years, you know, but I was a baby, you know, I was such a young kid, and I was in a company too that, I mean, we're talking $4.99 here. That was $5,000. I mean, that was hardcore. I mean, it was like guerrilla marketing, you know. This is like giving someone a promo code. I mean, I'm just like, yeah, you're joking me, you know? I mean,
Yeah. So
you were talking about the difference, Joan. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I was
the
thinking when you
fact-
said that.
the fact that I can live my life and connect with people and tell them I promote a really cool brand that teaches people how to live clean. And everyone's like, oh my God, that's awesome. I mean, I was sitting on the plane yesterday, prime example. I'm exhausted. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm flying home from Modere headquarters, flying into a huge, crazy snowstorm. And it's like, oh my gosh, I just want to get home. And I'm sitting on the plane, and there's a guy sitting next to me, and he's like, you know, starts talking, hey, how are you? I'm like, oh God. I'm like, I need earphones on. I had no earphones. I was like, I couldn't get away. But we started having this great conversation. Ends up, he's a filmmaker, owns an incredible film company here in town. He's like, hey, so what do you do? And I'm like, oh, you know, and I didn't even want to argue about it. I was like, hey, I'm in network marketing. You know what I mean? I thought that would shut him up, like, whatever. And he was like, really? He's like, so, like, what is it? And so I told him, you know, I said, hey, I promote a really cool online retail brand that teaches people how to live clean. And he's like, well, that's awesome. He's like, well, what is it? You know, and I'm like, oh, it's modere.com. And we just started talking about the brand and about Bob Finnegan and just kind of all that fun stuff, because he's a really creative guy. And I just happened to have a catalog in my bag.
You're so happy.
I did. You know what? I don't always carry them, actually. I usually don't have it. I don't have very many. I've given so many out. So I was coming home, and I was almost empty-handed. And so he just starts going through it, and he's like, wow, this is amazing. And we've already connected on Facebook, and, you know, we're going to connect next week. But it's just really simply like just having fun and just, you know, connecting with people. And, you know, I mean, my whole thing is like, I just keep it so simple. It's like, all we do is we connect people to Modere and hook them up with a corporate discount to try the brand on us for $10, and they get $10 off. Like, that's such a cool thing. So I think, you know, having that mindset of, you know, when you go out into the world and share Modere, I don't, you know, again, I'm careful about the verbiage that I use. I mean, I really haven't had anybody ask me if this is network marketing or MLM ever. And not that I'm embarrassed. I'm very proud to be in the profession. I'm a network marketing professional. I mean, it's my career that I do, but I connect with people in such a way that it doesn't get weird. Like, it doesn't, like, it's never like, oh my gosh, that's, you know, that's the girl.
It's because of your passion.
That's the live clean girl. You know what I mean? Like,
because of your passion and your belief in yourself. Like, that's what I'm hearing in everything that you say. You know, you keep it simple. It's your mindset. It's your passion. It's your belief. And these things, ladies, are things that are going to come with practice, and just keep doing it and have a no-fail attitude of not giving up. I mean, I watch so many people in this industry or in this space, and they're in, they're out, they're in, they're out. And then they wonder why they're not successful. And for me, I'm steadfast. So I might not be having the success I want, but I don't ever stop. And I think that's what I'm hearing from you, is that's what you've done over this 20 years. You never stopped. You just kept going and learning and becoming what you are right now, which gives you the passion and belief that's allowing you to be an E3 at the top of this company. You know, and I'm honored to be here with you.
For Tony and I too, I mean, as we bring people in the business, like, we manage their expectations. So we let them know, we're like, hey, here's the deal. Like, this is a 5-year run for you, minimum. So when you get in, like, if you're going to get in and try to give this a whirl for 90 days, like, I'm not going to sponsor you. Like, I don't want you to get in this thing, you know, because it's just like anything else. It's going to take a little bit for you to get your bearings in this business. And, you know, there's a book, you guys have probably read it. It's called Outliers. Have you guys read it?
Love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. So it's the same thing here.
You got to put in your 10,000 hours.
Yeah. So I see so many people get in and they're like, oh my God, I'm like not making my $1 million yet. And I'm like, girl, okay, let's be really realistic. Let's track your business right now. So let's figure out how many hours have you actually worked the business. And I'm not talking this webinar. This does not count. This hour does not count. Being on the call does not count. Exactly. So by the time we map it out, she's like 500. I'm like, all right, when you get to 10,000, then we can reevaluate where you're at. But until then, you got to cut yourself some slack. Like we have some work to do together, but inside that 5 years, we let people know, here's the deal, Joan, like your first year, your goal is not to be a rock star in this deal. Your goal is to be proficient, not even good, just proficient, not even great, just proficient, like understanding like the skills that we do here, right? With prospecting and inviting and follow up and, those types of skills, like learning those, not even being amazing, but being proficient. And then the next year, maybe becoming good, right? And the next year, maybe becoming great. And the 4th or 5th year, maybe becoming a rock star, but I think it's important to manage your expectations when you get in this business. Otherwise, you could bum yourself out pretty quick. And
let me tell you, Sarah, I would hear that at the beginning, the outlier story, and I'd be like, they always take the long way. Why does everybody take the long way? I don't want to do year 1, 2, and 3 with the hard stuff, like you said. We have a very similar.
But you could get in profitability your first year, though. Do you know what I'm saying?
Like I will tell you, 8 years and a half, I have never, ever, not once, not even in Modere, paid for my own product since day one, month one. So I've always been, in the black. So, when my business has never been in the red, growing. But I will say one thing that, I was thinking, and I wrote it down while you were speaking. There are these cliche lines that you hear, and you can catch them now. We're network marketing professionals. You can catch when there's someone else doing what you do, even if they don't present themselves that way, because they all say the same stuff, right? We're all listening to these positive affirmations and all this stuff. But one of my favorites is everything that you go through grows you. And it really does grow you into the person that you need to be. But I do believe, and I wanted to respond to Raven. I do believe, Raven, that, everybody has their own faith, but I believe that God's favor, the favor, I write it all the time on Facebook, not for everybody else, for myself, to remind myself that the favor of God surrounds my life like a shield, and favor cancels failure. And Rex Crane, who's not a Facebook friend, but a real life friend, when he said those words, it was like they went from my toes all the way up my head. And I thought, if I just keep doing what I'm supposed to be doing, the favor, the outpouring of favor will cancel every failure that I've had and bring me to the place that I need to be. And that's like he says, that's worth your money and gas, just to know that there's things going on behind the scenes in this world that will bring you to the place that you need to be. And I do believe that we have all come together for a time.
Definitely. There is not a coincidence about who's on this call tonight.
I want to be respectful of everybody's time and yours mostly, Sarah. I know we went over. I was thinking we'd be like.
Okay. I feel bad that I can't answer any more questions.
You've done an amazing job. But in ending, Mike texted Joan and I while we were on and said, how important, which we already know the answer, but we got to hear it from you. How important is, this upcoming event in May for anybody on this call?
I talked about it in the begintation.
Yeah.
Right. When I went to my event, I knew my life wasn't ever going to be the same. Like, I wouldn't have got that sitting in a presentation, after the presentation. I wouldn't have got that at a Super Saturday. I wouldn't have got that on a Monday night call. I wouldn't have got that on a webinar like this, And for me too, for the girls that are on the call that you want to be great at this, well, like, for me, I went to training right away. I didn't want to make a ton of mistakes. And it's funny, I still made a ton of mistakes, but I'll tell you, it helped me with my belief. It helped me with my confidence to go, you know what, you can do this, and I still questioned, obviously, as years have gone by, like, hey, can you really do this? Like, all that stuff that we still go through. I wish I could say, like, I'm totally bulletproof. I don't know if anyone's bulletproof. People say that. I'm kind of like, I want to call them on their crap. I'm just kind of like, really? Okay. Maybe they are. I don't know. I'm not. But the training's everything. Like, for me, I want the people on part of my team. Like, I want them to become independent. Like, I don't want them codependent on me. I want them to be able to come back and feel not only confident, but competent, that they can go out and build a successful business and use me as a resource, not because, you know, it's not like, I don't want to be that person that is the go-to for them for everything. They're never going to become who they're supposed to be in this business. So, you know, I feel that if I'm doing them a disservice if I don't get them to training. Like, that's my, like, shame on you, Sarah, you know, that you don't do everything you can to get them there, because there's just a lot that happens there, you know. It helps them with their belief. You build unbelievable camaraderie and friendships that you'll never have anywhere else in your life. It does stuff that, you know, for people that do have a team, it does things that you could never do for your team. It helps people see the big picture. A lot of people, they got introduced to Modere through a social in a living room. I mean, they need to see a bigger picture of where we're going and what's happening. And it also a lot of times shows people that this is a real business. And for a lot of people too, they finally like are ready to go. I mean, they pull the trigger a lot of times to really do their business at an event. So I would tell you this event is going to be huge in every way. I mean, they just keep getting better and better. For me, I don't like missing events because I don't like not seeing my friends. I don't like that. I mean, I get excited. I'm excited to see you guys. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I feel like it's been a year. It hasn't been, but I feel like that. So for me, I know that I need to, like, every time I go to an event, I need to get refueled. And for most of us, we go into an event and our gas tank is on empty, and we need to get fueled up and to go back out there, because the reality is that not everyone sees what we see. And some of you guys have supportive spouses and some of you don't. And you go back to negative families or spouses that aren't necessarily supported. And you need that environment to, you know, you need to be around that association that everybody's going in the same direction that you're going in. And that's really, really an important piece. So for me, events are really everything in the business. If you're not registered, get registered. You know, we got to figure out how you need to get there. You guys can bunk together, you know, and it's a great weekend for girls. I mean, we can all be together. I think that's what's super fun. But, you know, just find a way, you know what I mean? We're all problem solvers, and we just figure out how we need to get there together, whether we got a carpool, drive, fly, whatever, share rooms, whatever, doesn't matter. But just do what you need to do to be there. But yeah, I'd encourage you, don't be there alone. You know, bring some people with you, because it's the best place for them to become independent as fast as possible. So events for me are everything. I mean, and for us too, when we bring people on board, events aren't optional. They're part of the deal. Mm-hmm. Like if you went and started a job, you have on-the-job training. Well, this is your on-the-job training in Modere. It's no different. So, right. So for us, like, we're like, that's part of the whole gig, guys. Like, you get in, you sign up with us, and you go to Atlanta. That's just what we do here as a culture in the business.
Right. So if you can have any final parting words. I know I'm looking at the names, and there are some people here who, you know, they've been in with us for a while, and they haven't sponsored yet even their first person. And I know that some of them are feeling a certain kind of way about that. So if you can just kind of leave with some parting words for those who they want it, they just they're not sure what they have to do to get it.
Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, be encouraged. I just wish you could see my first 5 years of this business. And it doesn't mean it's going to go anything like mine. It's not. It's not. There's very few that have gone like mine. Oh gosh. You know, I think for a lot of people, just understanding that this is your journey. It's not anybody else's journey. You know, whether you become an E3 in 5 years or in a year or in 10 years, it doesn't matter, except that you got there at the end of the day. Like, no one looks at how I got to E3 and the other E3s, like, except that we're there. I mean, now, you know what I mean? And so just learning how to, you know, in the moment, be okay with where you're at. But also too, you gotta really track your business. I mean, this is a real business. So if you don't have anyone involved in your business yet, you know, you need to look at how many people are you really talking to. You know, I have some people that they're like, well, I don't have anyone in my business and I'm talking to 2 people a week. Well, we gotta change your numbers, because the reality is that this business is a numbers game, and we gotta talk to people. You know, we gotta talk to people. It's just, you know, that's what we do. And the more people that you talk to, the more people are gonna say yes, the more people are gonna show up. I mean, you know, all that stuff. So I think it's just really important to get really real with yourself and take inventory and go, okay, so how many people have I talked to? I mean, if you have a list of 10 people and you're like, no one said yes, I'm like, listen, like you got to talk to more people than that. That's just not just a network marketing. That's just like in any type of business. So I think that's really important to really take inventory of where you're at and look at your numbers. And you know what, if you have talked to a lot of people, you know what, maybe, you know, I tell people, like I had said on the training I did with Justin the other day, you know, don't be afraid to reach up with who you're working with, whether it's your mentor, your upline, your sponsor, whoever, and, you know, talk to them and say, you know, figure out where you're falling down. You know, are you falling down on following up? Are you falling down on inviting? Are you falling down on just prospecting people in general? Are you falling down on making friendships? Like, where are you having a rough time with that? Like I tell people, okay, so if you haven't enrolled anyone, stop talking to people for a minute and let's back up and like, let's walk through that. And so I have people do role playing with me. Okay, so if you were inviting me, what would you say? Like if they're like, I want to find out like where are they getting stuck at, just so I can help them work through that and have a breakthrough. So I would tell you, don't be afraid to reach up, not to complain and groan. Let me tell you, here's another rule that Tony and I have. Every person we personally bring into the business, their first year, you can't complain, you can't moan, you can't groan, you can't, you know what, you can't do any of that. Like that's, like you can't do that. All you can do for a year is you can put your head down and we can go to work, and at the end of that year, we reevaluate where you're at, adjust your goals and that sort of thing. But again, your first year is you want to be proficient in this business. Even if you've maybe been in network marketing before and you're in Modere, like your first year is to get proficient. Like that's just the name of the game. So if, when you do go to your sponsor and your upline, what have you, it's not about a bunch of garbage, but it's about, hey, I need help. Can you help me work through this so I can push through to start enrolling people? But I think too, Joan, the great thing about Modere is that maybe you're not great at enrolling social marketers right now. Then focus on acquiring customers like a maniac. You know, I mean, I have people in my business that they don't want to build a network. They've talked to no one about network marketing. All they want to do is acquire customers, and they're having a blast, and I love them for that, and they're excelling. So, you know, if you're having a rough time that way, just shift over. Like, if you're not bringing social marketers in, that doesn't mean you're not a rock star in this business. I mean, you know, figure out what works for you, and maybe it is customer acquisition right now, and then you'll maybe grow into becoming a better prospector for social marketers. Well, great. You know, maybe you're great at bringing social marketers in, but you're not with customers. Well, then we'll work on that too, you know?
Or customers will just naturally or organically evolve, which is what I'm seeing happen too.
Yeah. I just think it's just a process. Just be encouraged, you know. Just too many people look at everyone's awesome success story and they don't understand like that backstory is a whole nother animal. Right. You know, it's so different.
So you talked about doing role playing, you know, for inviting. So we're going to have you back one time, and we're going to actually have to get down and dirty and do some role playing, because I do think my background is training, and I think that's so important. So I am so humbled and honored that you took this time to be with us. And
love you.
And Alexandra, I'm so excited that we took our first step in our empowerment of women and young girls journey together. And I'm excited. It's recorded. I'm going to stop the recording now, and we'll have it forever.
Nobody will see your face when you're